Hello and welcome to Some of My Friends Read Comics. And those friends are, we've got Chris.
Go on, feel my muscle.
We've got Vince.
Strength of an elephant, reflexes of a fly, speed of a cheetah.
Nice. And I'm Kia. Hi, welcome to the show. Today we're talking about Animal Man. Yeah.
Oh, I should have done like more drums. I could have done Animal from the Muppets.
But that wasn't in this comic.
I know.
So it would have been a disingenuous quote.
Animal Man. That's my Dr. Teeth impression.
And we're not talking about the Grant Morrison run. We're talking about Grant Morrison later because we're still doing All-Star Superman. We're on number 5 of that. We'll get to that later. For now, we are doing the 2011 run by Jeff Lemire with art by Travel Foreman. This was for the New 52. They, relaunched a bunch of books. And this was one of them. We are doing the first trade. It was called The Hunt. First 6 issues or so, right?
Yep.
And it kind of was tying into Swamp Thing, had like a little mini event thing going between them and like The Rot. That's what this whole story is about. Was there another comic that tied into it as well, or was it just Animal Man and Swamp Thing?
So there was... it was just Animal Man and Swamp Thing, although you may have, if you have DC Universe, you may have seen ads for Frankenstein Agent of Shade, which is also... It's a Frankenstein superhero book that was very short-lived, but it kind of was part of the trio of horror comics that kind of came over from Vertigo, because Swamp Thing came over from Vertigo, and Animal Man did, because that was previously like a big Grant Morrison book. Frankenstein was there. There was like... What was it? Dial H for not Dial H for Hero. Was it V is for Vampire? Something by Josh Fialkov. I read it. I Vampire. That's what it was. And then like Justice League Dark, and they all kind of were I had like Constantine and Zatanna. But these 2 books specifically were building together for Rot World, which I think starts in like issue 12 of both of Swamp Thing and Animal Man runs, which I didn't realize because I never read any Animal Man before. I always knew about Swamp Thing and the green. They referred to that, and that was like the plant life. And they decided for this book specifically to make the red, which is like the second pillar, which is animal life, plant life, and then rot, the circle of life, just like, the Lion King tie-in.
That's topical.
Topical,
yeah.
Right? But I think the rot and the red were specifically created for this book, just to kind of nicely dovetail.
Yeah,
with
I don't remember anything about the red from other Animal Man stuff, but yeah, you can definitely tell it's all like they drop Swamp Thing's name more than a few times throughout these books, so you can kind of see it's all building towards that.
And Swamp Thing never really like overlapped with many characters. He kind of was off in his own corner of the world. He hung out with like Batman early in Alan Moore's run, but then after a while, once he went to Vertigo, he never talked to anybody.
Mm-hmm. Well, other than Constantine.
Those horror comics, they just live in their own world,
And these are horror comics, more body horror than like scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that the story here is very horrific, but the art certainly has like a super creative style to it, which totally plays up the horror more than anything. Like, I could see this same story being drawn in a completely different way that just doesn't give it a horror comics feel at all. But this art is wicked. That's a good word for it. It's wicked.
It's defying gravity? What?
Yeah.
Is it popular?
Yes.
That's all I know about Wicked. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's Kristen Chenoweth drew this comic.
I want to be popular.
So I think we're ready to get into it. Yeah.
Also the New 52. Basically, it kind of fudged whether or not this was people's origins prior to this still happened. So it may contradict what's in the Grant Morrison book, but this is supposed to be like his kind of definitive origin that then comes out, I think, like in issue 0, which was the 12th issue of all the New 52 books. So.
Yeah, it's a very soft reset. Like, he was a hero for a while. They changed the origin slightly to just be like, oh, that was actually us. We were faking you out.
Yeah, honestly, and I don't remember too much from the Grant Morrison run, just that it was balls to the wall crazy, and you don't read those books for the plot, so I'm not too worried.
I remember you really liking that though, Kia, like
yeah,
a decade
absolutely.
ago, and that's the only reason I read this book, because I liked Sweet Tooth by Jeff Lemire. We haven't figured that one out.
We haven't figured it out, yeah.
But I liked Sweet Tooth, which was ending probably around this time, and I saw he was doing Animal Man. I was like, Kia loved the Morrison Animal Man. I'll give this a shot. So I read this contemporaneously.
All right. Well, then let's get into it. Issue number 1 of Animal Man. Kind of, starts off with, I really loved this. It's a Believer parody of one of 2 magazines I've ever had a subscription to in my lifetime. It was The Believer and Nintendo Power, I think.
What was The Believer? Was that like Dave Eggers' book?
Yeah, it was. It wasn't his specifically, but it was like published by McSweeney's, and like had a lot of literary interviews and super hipstery kind of stuff. And honestly, I couldn't. I mean, I guess they might do an interview with Animal Man, sure. Really, they're doing an interview with Buddy Baker because he's not really super into being Animal Man anymore. Not like he's not into it. He's just not doing it as much. He's more of an activist. He was in an indie film. So he started to become a bit of an actor, started doing publicity stuff. He's got a family. He's got a wife and 2 kids. And, we get a lot of little slice of life moments. His family, his daughter's upset because they can't get a dog because if he spends too much time near one animal, he might bond too much to that animal and it could throw off his powers. So they can't get a dog.
Which if he's quit being superhero, does it really matter? Like, kind of thought about that.
That's true.
But I really like this. Like, I mean, I like the interview with Buddy because I think that kind of it adds like it adds a real perspective of like a superhero in real life, much more than like Superman Earth 1 where Clark Kent interviews Superman, which is real dumb. But this seems to like I really like this. It's just a very mundane scene of everybody just making dinner at home. Talking about like their interview. He's like, did I come off like an asshole? I didn't want to come off like an asshole. The kids are weird. One kid wants a cat. It's just like fun.
It's not that weird.
No, I mean it's weird for a superhero book. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's very like mundane, and it shows like the mundanity of like I was a D-list superhero, so I don't do that anymore. But I do have powers, but I don't want to use those, so I don't. And I just kind of have like a normal life. I thought that was a really like interesting way to start this book.
Yeah.
It is funny that they're like, oh, I'm in this indie film and I haven't made any money from it yet, but it's also very clearly The Wrestler. Like not only is it about a washed-up superhero, the name is Ryan Darrenofsky. Oh. And they're like, you're getting Oscar buzz for this movie. And it's like, yes, this is just The Wrestler, except somehow he's not famous. Like it's a like super low budget version of The Wrestler, I guess.
I think we spoiler alert, skipping ahead to issue 6, we get to see like a whole scene, a bunch of scenes from the movie. But we'll get to that. It's a pretty much what I'd expect from an indie film about a former superhero. It gets a little bit by the numbers, but I think that's also kind of the point, almost. So they're at home. He's like. Is going after security gig stuff where he can kind of use his old superpower. Oh wait, no, the security gig thing was in the movie as well. I'm getting it all mixed up. All right, back to real Buddy Baker in the real world. He just wants to be a person again, doing some active superhero stuff, and his wife is kind of sending some mixed signals. Like she misses the superhero stuff, and then it's like, okay, there's a hostage situation at the hospital. It's like, oh, come on, you're going out. I just got dinner ready. It's like, but I thought you wanted me to be more superhero. And he's trying to figure it out, but he ends up going. Cliff, his son, is very excited to see him be a superhero again. Wants to go with him, but he can't. So he's like solves this whole problem at the children's hospital, and then his eyes start bleeding, like just red straight out of his eyes.
He rolls up and he's not like, I don't want to fight you. I mean, in any other book, it'd be like, I'm going to do this. And I guess he has animal powers. So it could be like, form of a dragon. And also this. And this is how...
Well, his first form of a rhino. His first one.
Well, that's his first one. And that's only because, like, but at first he goes up and the bad guy tries to shoot him. But his first is like, let's just talk, man. I don't want to fight. We're just in a children's hospital. I know it sucks that your daughter died. Like, it's super just, like, low-key.
I know you're saying that we don't see that very often, but I do feel like I see that a lot. I don't know.
I don't.
Yeah.
I think the art makes me feel like this is just like it makes it feel more mundane to me than like slice of life, like Invincible. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure. Yeah. I will say going forward, literally everything in this book is made 10 times better by the art. I don't want to keep repeating myself, but it really just makes everything so much cooler than it is. I think.
And Buddy knows he's in a Marvel movie because he like rolls up wearing his like it's not really a mask but like headband and like head covering thing, and then immediately takes it off the second the scene starts.
Yeah,
just like, hey man, I'm just a regular person.
But it's not a digital mask.
We got to start making references though.
I love the Marvel movies.
We're gonna confuse you.
I love the Marvel movies just have digital masks now. Like Spider-Man's mask just goes bloop, just disappears.
It makes a lot of sense. You know, I would like a digital mask like that. There was a great arc on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. where they were doing digital masks to get face doubles. And, like, the digital mask would switch to a different face. Pretty cool.
That's cool. So we do get our first power, form of a rhino.
Yeah. And then we get this that cocktail, right afterwards, with the cocktail of the fly and the speed of the cheetah and everything.
Yes, which we had a contest going forward. Do we count each of those as a different power?
I think so, because I don't remember what we said exactly last time, if we were doing the over-under on number of
Kia, you said he was going to show 30 different animal power?
We didn't get anywhere close to that.
But we didn't also... but, I mean, it was like 7 within like 4 pages, so I was like, oh shit, Kia's going to win this.
I thought I was going to win. Like, this issue, he was using it left and right. He was using Bumblebee weight so that he doesn't wake the kids when he gets home. He was using a cat nap so he could go fall asleep faster. I was like, oh my god, this guy's going crazy with animal powers. Yes.
But we didn't properly define the rules of, does he have to explicitly say, like, I'm going to use cheetah power? Because, I mean, he flies a lot because he's just always around birds.
Yeah, there was a part where he's, like, in a fight and he's very clearly using an animal power, like a gorilla or something, but he doesn't say it. So I just counted that as one.
Yeah,
and
that counts.
I was trying to get close to 30, and we didn't get anywhere. My final count was 13 total for the whole thing.
Yeah, that's pretty much close to mime too.
Okay.
But they
what
got
were
real
our
lame.
predictions? I don't even remember.
Kia had 30, I had 17, and Chris, you had 7.
I guess that means Vince wins, right?
Yeah.
I didn't go over.
That's
Neither
true.
did. Well. Now hold on. Price is Right rules are bullshit, and everybody knows it. Okay, there's nothing wrong with going over. When you're not talking about money, it's okay.
Yeah. I counted 11, but Hiss is like a cat was also one of them, so I don't know.
Oh, okay. I had a couple of, like, for issue 4, I just wrote flying again. For issue 5, I wrote flying again, and then fighting like some kind of animal. So I counted those each. All right. Let's get back to the story here. So the doctors check him out, and he's, like, nothing's going on with me. They can't actually find any signs of blood. We'll get more into that later. He gets home, and he has this terrible dream, which is basically sort of foreshadowing a lot of the rot stuff. It's crazy disgusting. He's just like it's black and white, and he's just a big old, like, vein man. Like, you just see his veins and eyeballs, and it's very cool.
And his son Cliff is like, his intestines are coming out because something that he says, Maxine did this to me, which I think is foreshadowing, if I'm not mistaken. Spoiler alert for something that's not in this book.
Okay. But then they get woken up by the rest of the family because the daughter, Maxine, has...
ostensibly 4.
Yeah, it seems a little older than 4 years old, but that's okay. It says she's 4 years old. She has brought a bunch of skeleton pets back to life.
She's dug up a bunch of animals in the backyard. Yeah,
and she's just hanging out with them because she wanted a pet. And pretty great finish to the first book, I think. She's never had any powers or anything before, from what we can tell. And so this is, daughter getting herself some powers. Pretty good. The next cover to this issue, but oh god, disgusting. I love it. I love these disgusting covers. They're the best. So we get right into issue 2, and Maxine says that they were called to her from the place, the red place they keep talking about. And Buddy's skin goes all red again. It's like there's like a blood pattern all over, almost like a tree of life, but made out of blood on the front,
like
of
tracing his
chest.
veins almost.
Yeah. And it's like a map. I don't think they explicitly mentioned that it's a map yet, but you can kind of tell. Like Maxine points at a little piece of it. Wife's worried, like, of course. And so they're in the kitchen trying to figure out what this stuff is. She's like, it's like a part of your skin now. Meanwhile, Cliff, the older brother, is just trying to take videos of these animals and put them on YouTube. Makes sense. That's what I do.
Yeah,
somebody's
they're
drinking milk.
They're all
also.
bony and gross.
Yeah. It's like feeding them milk and it's just going through its skeleton.
That might be my panel of the week right there. I mean, as great as all these panels are, every once in a while he just draws some really, really detailed facial expressions where she just looks so sad holding this skeleton. And I just sad face. They kind of talk about how they gotta go to this red place to figure everything out. Vince, what were you gonna say?
They meet the neighbors like, what in the Sam Hill? Why are all these dead animals walking around here? And Maxine freaks out and turns his hand into a chicken claw.
Yeah, this is my other panel of the week. Is this man's arm being turned into a chicken claw?
Yeah, I get that this guy's mad that he thinks somebody just dug up his garden where he buried his cat, apparently. But he's like shaking a teenager, like a 13-year-old, in the middle of the night. Like, dude, like, what are you doing?
Yeah, kind of 0 to 100 real quick.
Yeah, you're just asking for your arm to turn into a chicken hand.
Yeah.
Just asking for it.
So at this point, we don't know what Maxine's powers are. She can raise dead animals, and she can turn people's hands into chicken hands. It just seems a little wild, but it looks great. She does turn it back, but this guy's like, I'm really gonna go call the cops.
I kind of wish they just left it. Like, I was like, I don't know how to turn this back. Sorry. You're never gonna see this character again.
He's a chicken, I tell you. A giant chicken.
So Buddy and Maxine decide they got to go to the I almost said the good place. They got to go to the red place, and Ellen, the wife, and the son Cliff are going to stay at home, holding down the fort. And so we got ourselves a little road trip going on. All the pets are there for the send off. It's a nice little moment. Meanwhile, at the San Diego Zoo,
The San Diego dude.
The San Diego dude. The San Diego Zoo, the hippos are pregnant. And I don't know. Are they pregnant? What's going on? They're like giant tumors growing out of their stomach. It's some weird stuff. It turns out to be these agents of the rot, which are just these creepy giant monster people. And they take over 3 zookeepers' bodies. They're like inside it. It reminds me of what was that old sci-fi movie with Kyle MacLachlan? Oh boy, what was the name of that? Oh well, it was about an alien.
It reminds me of Men in Black 1 with Vincent D'Onofrio in his Edgar suit.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they look like to me. They're kind of like bursting at the seams.
They got to replace every once in a while.
What are these guys called? I don't remember what these guys are called, but I mean they're agents of the rot of some sort.
Yeah, like I think the trio, some kind of trio.
Yeah, the Hunters 3, is that what they're called?
Yeah, that's right.
There we go, the Hunters 3.
That may be a Thor character thing.
And there's also
the Warriors 3.
That's it.
We've seen them in the in Animal Man's Dream as well, right? Or at least they're very reminiscent of that.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, we got to start the hunt. Meanwhile, they're on this road trip. Maxine and I call it a road trip, but they're really just flying. That was one more power use right there. They're flying to these giant veins that are just like hanging out in the world, open, and nobody can really see them. But since they're connected to this thing, they can see it, and they touch it, and they're like into this weird dimension, this weird place, this the red place, the life web they also call it. we're kind of jumping into issue 3 now, but we get a little bit of talk from Buddy throughout these two things about, where he thought his powers came from and what he's kind of called this life web. I think the life web was his own word for it. Mm-hmm. But they meet up with, some life avatar totem people who kind of fill them in on everything. And it all gets a little bit retconny here, where it's like, actually, we gave you your powers because we knew that you were going to be the one who was going to raise this little girl, and she's important because she's going to protect everything. That's kind of the gist of it, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Issue 3, by the way, is when, I mean, like I said, I think the art's very good. It reminds me of Jay Lee. But issue 3 is the little girl is like 12 years old by this point. Like, she's aging every issue.
Yeah, she does not look.
They always mention she's 4, and I have a 5-year-old, and like he's pretty advanced for his age in terms of like his speaking, like compared to like other kids his age. Just like in how he constructs sentences. But this girl talks and is so self-aware and like such a self-starter that I'm like, there's no way she's 4.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
because like my son is like stubborn and he does shit. But he doesn't just like, well, whatever. I'm just gonna proactively go dig up all the dead animals in the backyard. Like, that's an 8-year-old thing, not a 5-year-old thing. Like, that requires a little bit more planning and a little bit more coordination.
But yeah, just the way she talks, you're right. It's definitely not 4-year-old speech. I'd say it's 6 or 7-year-old speech right there.
Right, yeah, and just the way she's drawn too. Like, she is not. She, like, her head and everything. She's just a small person. Like, she's not like, she doesn't have a larger head than body ratio. She's just, looks like a tiny adult because she's wearing like a sweater vest thing.
Yeah,
her mom dressed her like a real nerd to go meet these ancient avatars.
She did have some cool sunglasses on for a while, like when she was standing around waiting to go. Those were cool. But then when she took them off, fucking nerd.
I think Foreman's strength, to me though, I think his strength is in all these creatures and like these kind of like world stuff, and not so much like in the human stuff.
And it really kicks into high gear here when they're in this weird dimension, and these Hunters 3 have taken over these zookeepers, and they're walking around like freaking worms coming out of their noses and stuff, just looking like messes. I hate them and I love them. They end up going to...
It feels like a Vertigo book. It really does.
It really does.
Yeah. Which is really nice because, like, oh shit, Vertigo came to the DCU. Like, that, I remember being excited about that at the time.
So they go to Buddy Baker's house because they're trying to track down Animal Man, and he's not there. But they're like, well, the wife and the son are there. Oh, wait a minute! Didn't she bear the avatar, the totem? Yeah, we can get her, sure. In case she does it again, right? Yeah, I guess so. Is that how it works? I don't know. Just bearing totems left and right out of nowhere. It's worth mentioning they're playing some kind of a scary first-person shooter video game type thing while they're hanging out. But yeah, these crazy things show up. They start running. They go to like a motel. Buddy had given her the name of a detective that he's friends with that she can call if there's any trouble, and she does. But wouldn't you know it, that detective, on his way to the motel to help out, gets equally overtaken by the Hunters 3, and they infect his body.
Yeah.
Is it all 3 of them inside the one body, or is it just one of them? I lost track of that. How'd that work?
No, it's just the one that's after them, and then the other 2 are fighting Maxine and Buddy in the spirit realm.
Gotcha. The face of the detective when he shows up at this diner and he's like a secretly evil person is just such a wonderful face. It's like, it's normal, but there's something off about it. Like, it's too friendly. I love it. My panel of the week.
Yeah, and there's flies buzzing around him all the time. Kind of a red flag.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I really like this. Spoiler for, I guess, our end of talking about it, but this issue in particular, I was like, oh, this is just Swamp Thing. Like, this is just what Swamp Thing would be fighting.
So they're doing all this fighting. Buddy is really hurt. We're kind of getting into issue 4 at this point, but yeah, in his fight with these hunters, Buddy has taken a bunch of really bad hits. He's bleeding. He's taken on the abilities of some weird-looking animal. I don't know what it's
like a gorilla, a little like Donkey Kong.
Yeah. He's not wearing a tie, Vince, so I don't really see the resemblance there.
It's pre-Donkey Kong Country where he didn't have a tie.
Yep,
that's his father.
Then we do a spectacular. That's hilarious.
So Buddy is really hurt, and Maxine is able to use her powers to heal him. I guess that's another power she has. We kind of learned that she's just got general power over life. Seems very strong. But the good LifeWeb Avatar people basically talk about how, the rot is like the same thing. It's like these life avatars that are dead and they've passed. But now they've gotten all twisted and evil, and they want to get back to the living world, and so they're kind of doing whatever they can to do that. And they're going to try and get your daughter.
I like that. I can't remember if it was in this book later or if it was in Swamp Thing, but like the idea of the balance of the three, that all three are necessary: the green, the rot, and the red. Like, like if any one of them gets out of balance, like it can be bad for the world. And so, like, the rot is not inherently evil, but the rot is right now making, like, a play to, like, take over. And I think that that's a really cool concept. Maybe that was just, like, me being like, whoa, 2011, like, this is mind-blowing. But I still like that. I like the idea that the rot isn't inherently evil. It's just making, and, like, the red could similarly do the same thing. The animal life could similarly wreck plant life.
It's your yin and yang and yang. Great. They do mention as well that Alec Holland can help, and it took me a second. I was like, Alec Holland, where have I heard that name before? Oh yeah, that's Swamp Thing. Oh yeah. Then this giant hairless cat shows up and says, you know what? I'm gonna come with y'all. I'm gonna help train Maxine. Her powers are gonna be weaker when we leave this place, so she's gonna need to learn how to use them. I'm like, all right, cool. This giant cat's joining us.
Yeah, this cat reminds me a lot of Lion Cat from Saga. Saga.
Oh yeah.
Sagat. Yeah. Saga by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples, which was actually after this book. But I get a similar vibe.
He's a cool cat. Ignatius, a.k.a. Boots.
Socks.
Socks. I'm sorry, Socks. Socks was his pet name back when he was alive, but he prefers Ignatius. So, of course, Maxine calls him Socks. The fake detective, we also learned, still has the real detective alive in the trunk of his car. I guess they're not actually inhabiting these bodies. They're just, looking at them and then taking on the appearance.
Like a clay face kind of molding him, too.
Yeah. So that guy's still alive. The detective and Cliff, the older brother, are hanging out by the car while Maxine is inside talking to her mom. They go to the mom's place, Grandma's house. It's a good thing Grandma lives in the woods, where there's lots of animals around that might come into play later. How many old ladies live in the woods by themselves? It seems to be a common trope, by the way. I don't know. It doesn't seem safe.
Are you going to submit this to TV tropes? Old lady grandma who lives in the woods that you can come stay with.
It's almost like nursery rhyme trope. It's old stuff. But this whole time, Maxine has kind of off and on been like, whoa, I can sense that, the rest of the family's super scared. We got to get back. And then when they're with the detective, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. They're not scared anymore. Seems okay. But now she's scared again because the detective has kidnapped Cliff. He's taken him to the lake for some reason, going to use him as bait. He's also taken the detective to eat for dinner, which he does, and he's delicious. Buddy and Maxine get to Grandma's house, and Boots the cat the whole time is like,
Socks.
"Oh, it's a bad idea." Socks. I keep writing down Boots in all my notes. Socks.
You must be really excited for Dora the Explorer, the movie.
I feel like Boots is a very common pet name, more than Socks. I don't know. They're both good. So Socks says, "Hey, this is a bad idea. We need to be getting your daughter away from the rot, not like closer to them. What are you doing?" But they manage to get there and kind of save everyone. But Buddy starts fighting the rot while everyone else gets away. Basically, they keep on selling him on the idea that, hey, the only thing that matters right now is keeping your daughter alive, even if you have to sacrifice your own life. So Buddy's, just pretty much almost dead, fighting these things off. And Maxine helps him by summoning all of the forest life to his location. and all these animals are helping. They're like biting at this evil freaking rock.
Awesome. Fuck yeah. This is awesome.
It looks great. It's a great panel. This is my panel of the week with all of these animals just like biting at this thing. And we see that because they've been biting at it, they've also ingested parts of the rot, and it's kind of spreading like a zombieism to them. And so they've all become evil now. Oh, no. And so everybody has to run away. Grandma included. They all get in the RV. They pile in. They're out of there. Grandma's like, oh, no, what about my dog? We can't leave him. It's too bad because it keeps on spreading. Your dog's got the rot now. It's a damn zombie. And the cat, Socks, got it right, says only the Swamp Thing can help us now. Okay, I guess we got to go find Swamp Thing. Cool. And then, I thought at this point it was over, but then there was one more issue. It's the movie issue where it's like his whole indie film. We basically just find out at the end that Cliff has been watching it on his phone before it ran out of batteries. Yeah, so we don't get to...
I was reading reviews of this issue, and this was the best issue of the first year of Animal Man. And
really?
I'm like, yeah, and I was like, this is a waste of pages. Like,
yeah.
Because the thing is I can't tell if, it basically is The Wrestler or any other movie of like, I'm going to clean up my life, Adrian, I'm going to be okay, I'm not, it's like, you smell like booze. It's like, I'm getting a job, man, and then I could take care of our kid. I just want my kids back, homeless dad style from like Arrested Development. And it goes on the entire issue. And so
and it really doesn't need to. We get it.
Like if it was like 2 or 3 pages or like cut in like one page and then like, back to our present day and then one page back to our present day. But it's the whole issue. And I'm like, it's too long to be like a parody or a satire. Mm-hmm. Especially because he's been like nominated for an Oscar for it. I'm like, this doesn't advance the plot. I don't really know why this exists.
Honestly, in general, that's my main complaint with the book is that all that stuff at the beginning about he's an activist now, he's an actor now, like they have nothing to do with the rest of this book at all.
That's true, because I really like that first issue, and then I'm kind of like, I like the art, but I don't really care about the story, like in the back half.
Yeah, it just kind of turns into a very typical, like, get away from these things, get to these things. The art saves it for me. Like, it's totally worth reading, I think, just to see these gruesome, grotesque goons. That's triple G. And it like still does it for me. I didn't not enjoy reading this. Who did the art on that last issue, though? It wasn't...
John Leone.
Yes, who has done a lot of other stuff I think I've read.
Yeah, it's definitely more, instead of Jay Lee, it's more David Aja.
Yeah, it's David Aja. The coloring also has that. I view it as like Javier Pulido a little.
I got who's the guy who did Daredevil with Bendis?
Malieve.
I get a Malieve feel from him.
Yeah, I get
a little bit of that.
I get a whole lot of that. Michael Larks from. Which is, I guess, later. Yeah. That's Brubaker. But John Leone looks like an artist that would work with Ed Brubaker.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's weird that people like this issue because, I was like, it's okay, but it definitely could have been better. I mean, the point is, I guess, Cliff likes his dad and is embarrassed to admit it because when he's like, hey, what are you watching there? It's like, nothing. Don't talk to me.
Yeah.
Because he's a teenager.
I mean, that moment at the end, I guess, was nice, but it's like this is very much a throwaway issue. It's a catch up to the, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a catch up issue. Let the artist catch up. Although I think the next couple issues are done by Steve Pugh of the Flintstones we read last episode.
Oh, all right.
His humans look a little like more normal. His monsters are cool, but not as cool as obviously as Travel Foreman.
Travel Foreman. Yeah.
I'm torn on if I want to keep reading this or not because, maybe I'll just flip through and just look at all the cool pages.
It's such a quick read, though. Like I don't.
It does go pretty fast, yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's all on DC Universe. You can read. I mean, I think the run ends at 29 issues. I would actually go and read the Swamp Thing run that's happening parallel with this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they cross over this arc, right? The second arc?
No, it's the third volumes that cross over. I want to say like issues 12 through 14 or something. Maybe 14 through 16.
I can't justify that when I don't remember old Animal Man, and it just makes me want to go back and read that now. Like, it's an unfair comparison.
So should we go read back? Should we go read old Animal Man?
I think at some point we definitely should. It's just so out there that it's not going to be like anything that we've ever... I mean... I don't know.
I know. That's what I was kind of hoping to know. So this doesn't resemble the Animal Man that much?
I don't think so. No, I'm glad it feels out there, but only with like that initial concept. Everything else just feels kind of very much like a traditional comic.
Yeah, because what I read about the original or the Grant Morrison Animal Man was that it was very fourth wall breaking and like a deconstruction of some sort.
Absolutely. And also it was kind of like... I mean, Grant Morrison's a fucking crazy person, and I think Animal Man was one of his first big chances to kind of do something with another property, and it was almost like he was throwing ideas to the wall and just seeing what would stick. And so I don't know how much of a like solid, complete narrative it is, as much as just like, whoa, that's a cool idea. Whoa, that's a cool idea. Whoa, that's a cool idea.
And that probably predates his Doom Patrol.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Doom Patrol is also filled with crazy ideas.
I need to get back into that. I need to watch the DC Universe show.
Yeah, I tried watching the first episode, and I don't know. I kind of gave up halfway through.
I like Timothy Dalton and I like Brendan Fraser, so I might give it a
shot.
I
don't like Brendan Fraser, but I like the projects he chooses every time. Looney Tunes back in action, it's still his best work, I think.
People love that movie. I still haven't seen it.
Oh, what? Vince, you got to watch this movie.
Okay, I'll watch Looney Tunes back in action. I'll do it.
It's a really solid movie.
Joe Cusack in it. I'd love it.
Speaking of movies, this might be it before we get into All-Star Superman 5. Any other movies y'all have seen recently?
So, me and Chris both saw Spider-Man Far From Home.
I still have not seen that.
It's fun. It's quite enjoyable. I liked it a lot.
Sure I'll love it. Yeah.
Chris wasn't as hot on it as I was. Chris, did you see Dark Phoenix?
I still have not seen it. I think it's already at the Dollar Theater
I'm
here.
Sure it is.
So maybe I'll check it out.
It's like the internet was deriding it, and I think it was sent to die. But it's totally fine. Like, it's not bad. And I when Michael Fassbender's on screen, though, you're like, man, Michael Fassbender's a better actor than everybody else in this movie.
Well, I mean, Jennifer Lawrence is like, do I have to be in this movie? Ugh.
She was killed in the trailer.
Jeez, yeah, you could just feel in the trailer her apathy to being in the movie.
She's pretty good in it, though. She's pretty good. She's got some zingers in it, and again, it's got like all the It's got Storm being real cool, using lots of powers in space. Cyclops is boring, but that, I enjoy it.
They got him right.
They got him right. But not the fun kind of boring. And then I've been playing Marvel Ultimate Alliance but more so Bruce has been playing it. And it makes me really excited because like I'll just hear Bruce being like, "Hey, I got a mission from Luke Cage's wife." He's 5, so I guess Jessica Jones is in the game, based on his narration of it to me. But he flipped out when he saw Mysterio in the game. It's basically like a kill room, and then you kill a bunch of bad guys, and then you fight a boss. But it's got Sandman, it's got Mysterio, it's got Dr. Octopus, Green Goblin, of what we've seen at least. So, and now he's stuck on Ultron right now. Kingpin had an Infinity Stone that gave him some trouble. But it's
Kingpin with an Infinity Stone. Have we seen that in the comics before? That sounds great.
It was an Infinity Stone like on his cane. Yeah.
That sounds wonderful.
Totally fine. It's a total like 7.5 review game. Like, it's just a beat 'em up, but my 5-year-old's having a blast with it. He knows every character in it. He's like, he got so excited when Miles Morales, he unlocked Miles Morales. Like, his goal was, he saw Miles on the cover. He's like, we got to unlock Miles. And so he spent like 2 hours getting to Miles and unlocking him, which kids today, they must love Miles Morales because Spider-Verse is really good.
Dude, you see like Miles Morales influence in everything else in media these days. It's crazy. Like commercials and stuff. It's so great. I love it.
It's really great. I'm glad that he really took off. And then but Kamala Khan's in it, Spider-Gwen's in it. Bruce is familiar with Venom from the movie, but he's like, did you know that Venom has webs? Like It's hilarious to me. I'm like, yeah, well, that makes sense based off of what you've seen. But now he's like dead set on unlocking Deadpool because he's not allowed to watch any Deadpool movies, but he wants to see something with Deadpool in it. So he's like, I'm putting him to bed, and he's like, we're gonna get Deadpool tomorrow, Dad.
This is dangerous. What if like this game probably has like a super PG version of Deadpool that's still like crazy and irreverent? It's just gonna make him want more Deadpool.
I know, but it makes me so happy. Like, we had like Spider-Man and X-Men in Arcade's Revenge, and it fucking blew. Like, that was where we got like most of our superheroes, or like that Spider-Man arcade game that had like Hawkeye and Submariner in it. And like,
I never saw that Spider-Man arcade game until like 2010.
Oh, we had it definitely like after every baseball game we would go and play that game.
Yeah, I just had the X-Men arcade game. That was pretty ubiquitous.
Yeah, but so like I'm like, man, this kid is growing up in a great time, where he's just got like every hero he'd want to play as he can do. He's a very lucky kid. Kids today.
Kids today, they got all the superheroes at their fingertips.
Yeah. They don't realize what it was like back in our day when most video games sucked.
Yep.
Sure did.
That LJN X-Men game, one of the worst ever made.
There's some bad ones. I mean, the thing is, the Spider-Man or X-Men Arcade's Revenge is like one of the better ones, and it still is terrible.
Yeah. There's like a Spider-Man game I was hearing recently that was for the DS that was kind of like a Metroidvania. That was
it's who's it? The Shattered Dimensions one. You get to play as like it's my game always like freezes though. It crashes quite frequently. But yeah, you can play as like Spider-Man Noir and regular Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2099 in a side-scrolling Metrovania. So it's pretty fun.
Interesting.
Chris Baker made it from the Laser Time podcast and stuff.
Oh.
It's pretty fine though. I mean, you can find it for $7 for DS. Like, honestly, give it a shot. If your game crashes, it crashes.
DS. All right. I have not watched any movies since.
Did I talk about Batman meets Ninja Turtles in this one?
I don't remember if we talked about it off the air or on the air, but we mentioned it at some point.
It was super violent, but it was cool because like all the Batman rogues took the ooze and they turned it, like Mr. Freeze turned into a polar bear and the Joker turned into a snake. It was cool.
Yeah, I definitely remember mentioning that Two-Face's head split into two, and it was disturbing.
Bruce looked at me and he goes, I don't think I should have watched that movie.
I'm really trying to remember the last movie I actually watched. Like, I just saw clips of that.
Shazam. I saw Shazam. That turned out pretty good.
No, I didn't see that one. I think Avengers 1, unless any movies came out after that. Not Avengers 1, but like the first part, Avengers Infinity, right?
Infinity War, Avengers 3.
I still have not watched Endgame. I'm like so far behind on everything.
It's on digital, I think, next week, and Blu-ray, I want to say on the 13th.
Check it out.
Yeah. It's only the highest grossing film of all time.
Yeah, I haven't watched any of the Marvel TV shows recently. I need to watch some Jessica Jones because I got a friend in it. Shout out to my friend Matt Weiss. Congratulations. He's like all over that thing.
Cool. That show got canceled, but...
Yeah, I know.
I heard it was because of him. So
yeah, it was him.
Bad news.
I was at the gym and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was on TV and Phil Coulson was evil. And I was like, no, what are these spoilers that are getting to me? So I gotta watch and see why he's evil and what's going on.
All right, on that note, let's move on.
Yeah. All right, All-Star
Superman
number 5. Let's do it. All right, so Lex is sentenced to the electric chair.
He's gonna get a nice massage.
Yeah, and he's on death row, and Clark Kent has an interview with Lex Luthor. He's got an hour with Lex, and man, Lex is just having a great time in prison. He's like working out. He's jiving, like, you know, shooting the shit with Clark. Kind of teasing him, like, man, don't you hate that Superman guy? Doesn't he make you look like a nobody, you big nerd? Lois Lane's never gonna love you, huh? Like, Lex Luthor, kind of an asshole.
What? Damn, kid.
I don't know. I'm on his side.
Is that a hot take?
What do you know about Superman? He's an alien, for one thing, not an American.
He just wants to know, like, hey, wouldn't the world be better without Superman, you think? Without us having to be, like, compared to him, all that?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
He makes some good points.
Throughout all this, Clark is doing so much bumbling and like accidentally doing what he wants to as he does it. I love all those moments. They have a very like drunken monkey kung fu style where it's like he's falling over and tripping on himself and it all looks like an accident, but it's also lining up so perfectly to make everything just work right. That might be one of my favorite things in general, like just drunken monkey kung fu fighting, and translating that into bumbling Clark Kent is perfect for me.
Yeah. And Frank Quitely's art does such a good job. We mentioned it in, was it issue 1 or 2, when he reveals he's Lois, and like basically all he does is like stands up straight, and I think that's basically all he does is take off the glasses and stand up straight. But here
his hair is also just like when he's Clark Kent, just like a messy blob.
Yeah. Here, it's like he's making like the face of Megan Amran, like a fat face, like constantly to try to be like, oh, I'm so fat. So Lex is like, if you worked out, you could be a pretty big dude. Right now, you're just like a big buttery cornball.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, you could kind of rival Superman, probably. Freaking nerd. So they're like kind of walking around the prison. This prison also seems pretty lax about like security and everything. But Parasite is also here at the prison. I don't remember what Parasite looks like in the comics. I remember him vaguely from the TV shows. He does not look like a purple alien man who is just like screaming like he's some kind of weird, just wants power. He's all wrinkly and he's like an evil Grimace, I would say, almost. And he is just wanting more power. Like he senses some source of power close by. And so, of course, Clark knows that, he's sensing me. He's trying to try and suck my power out. And so it just becomes another mess of, like, tear gas being blown around. We don't actually see Superman, but other people say, like, oh, Superman showed up and saved us. All right. But, again, he's just doing all this accidental stuff. What was my favorite moment? Something at the end where he kind of coughs in the direction of the inmates that are rioting and freezes them in place. Just fun stuff.
Yeah, and Lex is like, don't tell me you have asthma too.
This nerd, oh my god, I can't believe he's interviewing me. And so they go into Lex Luthor's cell now, where he's got a monkey dressed as Superman. For not much of a reason. Its name is Leopold, and we don't hear much of anything else about this thing. Is that a reference to something? I feel like I'm sure there's been some super chimps previously. No?
You're asking the wrong room.
Yeah, all right. It's probably some super... I feel like every issue here is based on some super dickery thing. Why does Lex Luthor have a super monkey? Anyways, Lex Luthor has also dug a tunnel down to hell. Or down to the river Styx, or something. I'm very confused by this as to why there are literally steps leading down to a river of hell under his cell, but they're there. He's also got some new prodigy. What's her name? Nastia? Nastialthia, but she likes to go by Nasty. And she is, she's a nasty girl. She reminds me of, I don't know if any of y'all read Morrison's Marvel Boy at all, but she reminds me of a character from that a little bit.
Yeah, Oubliette or whatever.
Yeah. And, this is kind of the big moment where Lex Luthor says, I've already succeeded. I'm okay with dying. I killed Superman. I used the sun to overload his powers. It's almost a little bit of a recap of what happened in the first issue, but it's also Lex Luthor kind of explicitly telling Clark this is what's going on. And he's like, yeah, I'm proud of myself. He's dead now. He's dying. And that's it. That's all I want. So, Clark, you can go ahead and take this river back home, and I'm just going to go back to my cell now. And Clark looks sad in the boat. Oh, sad boat. Great.
So apparently there was a Beppo, the super chimp, who was on the rocket with Clark, and then I guess ran away, and then met up with him when he was a baby, or like super toddler, to be his monkey friend who also wore a cape.
Which is great. All monkeys should wear capes, in my opinion. Great. Vince, you were the most down on this book last time, I think. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good about this. I like this issue. This is characters I know and care about, because I don't really care about Jimmy Olsen, but I like Lex Luthor. It's a little more on the narrative. Not that it has to be, but Lex is suitably pompous. It's a good Clark issue. I'm fine. I'm fine with this. I'm a little more on track with this.
Okay. All right. Great. Chris, any other thoughts to add?
Yeah, I thought this was really good. I do wish that there had been time for like some kind of foreshadowing or character stuff other than just the main story. But it's really strong, so you really can't complain too much. That Lex is really good, and like I said, Frank Quitely's Clark Kent is like, I don't know why they haven't tried to make this like, this should just be canon. Like, it's so good.
It's so good. This one really, it hit me. Like, I know we picked these because they are very done in one kind of issues, but it struck me how very self-contained a lot of these issues are. Not necessarily in terms of the whole story, but they really do take up like small periods of time and very few locations throughout all these issues so far, where it's like very much about kind of one specific thing. And sometimes to the story's detriment. Like, if you're not into that one thing, then there's nothing else going on. Sorry, but when it is working, it's like, yeah, this is great. This is all I want.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because what he's doing is he's servicing like the supporting cast, but like one character at a time, rather than throughout. Because these are like 3-4 panel pages. But like, there was a Jimmy Olsen issue and a Lois issue and a Lex Luthor issue. Because Superman's got a big cast. I mean, he's been around 80 years. So, but he's not like, they're not balancing them within each individual issue.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see how that progresses as we go. It looks like our next one's going to be a little bit of a Smallville issue. So we'll see how that goes.
So we're going to do Mom and Pa Kent. Yeah, because I feel like there was like a Bottle City of Candor issue at some point.
Yeah, I think there was. God, I don't remember anything.
That's how it is. I've read Animal Man 3 or 4 times. I still didn't remember what had happened.
I thought we covered Animal Man before, and I was like, no, I think we covered Swamp Thing, didn't we?
We did. We covered old Swamp Thing. We did more Swamp Thing. Have you watched? Has anybody watched the Swamp Thing TV show? It got canceled already, but
when it's recent.
There's a DC Universe has a Swamp Thing show. It's like 8 episodes. It's supposed to be like horrific. Like, it's supposed to be more like gruesome and gory than Hannibal, which I don't know what that means. Like, in terms of like, so if you like Animal Man's body horror,
but it got canceled already. That's too bad.
I think it was expensive. I don't feel like this DC Universe thing is long for the world. Although the comic service has gotten really good, like in the last few months. I was really down on it in October, but anything I want from DC, I've pretty much been able to find. So I'm happy.
Cool. All right. Good. Great. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. Is there anything else we got to talk about for these for Superman, or should we just get into what we're doing next time? Let's do that.
Let's do next time.
Next time we're doing another kind of classic Wolverine story that we've never read here. It's Wolverine Weapon X. I don't think any of us have read this one, have we?
I haven't. I bought it like a decade ago in a free comic book day sale, and then never read it.
Yeah, like this is a pretty important, like often remembered Wolverine story. It was originally in Marvel Comics Presents 72 through 84.
Whoa, Kia, we're not reading 13 issues.
Well, calm down. It's okay. It was these are like these anthology issues that have like a story with the Wasp, a story with Wolverine, a story with such and such, and sometimes they would continue across a few issues. So these are I don't remember how many pages.
I looked them up on Unlimited. They're like they're 9 pages with the cover, so they're 8 pages long.
Great. So altogether it should be about the size of what we do most of the time, about 6 full-size issues. Or so, something like that. Written and drawn by Barry Windsor Smith. I should have looked this guy up. I feel like I've never heard
the name. I know the name, but I don't know.
Well, for as important as a book as this Weapon X is supposedly is, I honestly don't even know what Weapon X is about. Is it like Wolverine exploring his past in the Weapon X program? Probably. That sounds right.
I mean, yeah. I know the image of him like with kind of like the metallic mask face, like that's actually in X-Men Apocalypse, the last X-Men movie, before Dark Phoenix, is taken straight out of Weapon X and all that, like Alkali Lake stuff.
Oh yeah, I forgot that scene was in that movie.
Yeah, that movie does a lot of things. It's utterly forgettable, but.
Boy, I'm looking at this guy's Wikipedia. He's got awards for days, dating back to 1970. This thing came out in 1991. Seems like he did not get any awards for it. So we're picking the wrong thing to read.
Oh, no. Yeah, well, we don't usually read a lot of Conan books.
He apparently was a big Conan guy. Because a lot of stuff.
That's what I would say he's best known for, but I think he also did win awards for, he did some, he wasn't a regular X-Men artist, but he would do like super fill-ins, like they would be longer issues and like really good ones. So he did one where Forge and Storm fell in love, and he did a handful of X-Men issues that were very well received.
All right. Apparently he wrote some Turok Dinosaur Hunter stuff back in the 70s or 80s.
Hey, don't sit on Exo Manowar either. That's the kind of bullshit games we got was Iron Man and X-Men Exo Manowar. Because they were apparently like on like equal tiers for Game Boy games in '94.
Yep. All right. Well, I'm excited for this Weapon X stuff. It's another classic one that I've kind of forgotten about for a while, so I'm glad we are going to get to read it. And I think we're done for the night. We got do we have an over-under for Wolverine Weapon X? Do we want to do that? Is this I feel like this is a recurring thing we got to do.
I have no idea.
How many times does he pop his claws, look up at the sky, and yell? Doesn't matter what he yells, just something.
So it's the pop in the claws combined with a look up and a yell?
Yeah.
All right, that's pretty specific.
I mean, that's what his X-Men cartoon, little animation loop was for, that's Wolverine.
I was going to say every time he holds his knuckles because they're bleeding and they hurt.
That's good. I don't know. I like the yelling into the sky. That's such a It's also one of those things that you're gonna end a lot of issues on. Like, oh no, Wolverine's going berserk.
And there's 13 of these issues.
Exactly, they're so small. I feel like I'm gonna say 30. We're gonna see it 30 times.
So is it? It's Wolverine looking up in the sky and yelling.
Yeah. Right after his claws are popped out. Or let's just say while his claws are out.
Yeah, with his claws out.
With his claws out. All right, great.
He could be calling for Jean or Morph or Yuriko.
I was recently rewatching the animated series, which is not very good. But in the first 2 issues, I feel like Wolverine says, nobody tells me where to go, 3 times. Or something along those lines. Like, man, Wolverine has one mode and that's it.
Is that, I think was it the second episode that created the meme format of Wolverine stroking a framed photograph?
I don't think I've seen that.
Yeah, I know that one.
I don't remember it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So Chris, how many times is he gonna yell in the claw? Yell at this guy while his claws are popped.
I'm going to say twice. Once every 6 issues.
Okay, I was going to say 2 to 3, so I'll go with 4.
That still seems low to me.
Kia, fuck you, I'm going 11. We're going to do it.
What?
Kia's got 30, Chris has got 2, Vince has got 11.
No, I'm not. I no, the 30 was a joke. Please do what you're really going to do. I was going to say 6 or 7. Okay, I'll say 7. All right, 6? So we got 2, 4, 7. I'm going to say 7. I'll go high. Okay. It's my thing.
But the thing is if it's any more than 7, you've got this locked.
Exactly. Oh my god! I hope he does it like 8 times in the first issue, and that's it. I can stop worrying about it and just relax through the rest of them. Maybe that's why Animal Man wasn't as good for me. I was tense reading all these things. Like, come on, I gotta win this. Use another animal power, and he didn't, and I was just so mad. Okay, well, this is gonna be my year. I can feel it. Thank you, Vince.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
This is all right. Bye. Love you. See you next time.